Welcome to Wild, Women in Lending Determined to Make an Impact. I'm your host, Robyn LaVassaur. They say our biggest fear isn't being inadequate. It's being powerful beyond measure. In this podcast, I will share how to break through imaginary ceilings, lean into success, discovering your purpose, and understanding how to create the business and life of your dreams. From failures to triumphs and all the tactics in between, let's jump into the wild arena together. Well, welcome back to Wild. This is Robyn LaVassaur, and today I'm going to talk about the ever so fascinating topic of he who calls first wins. Now, that could be a he or a she. Updates, the power in doing actual updates. I cannot tell you the business change that I had in just the day-to-day of taking care of clients and agents by being the one who wanted to be ahead of the communication. The single biggest complaint in almost everything that takes place is a lack of communication. And here's what's interesting. When somebody has to call and say, I'm checking in, I haven't heard anything, it immediately puts people, one, in a defensive position, but the other is it makes the client feel like they're taking care of themselves instead of you taking care of the client. That was a huge miss for me for a very long time, because when they called, I would be like, oh, let me go check and I'll get that figured out. But the problem is, even during that moment, it either was being an interruption to my day or added to my to-do list to get back to them, which that was left with, did I get all my to-do list done, right? Did I call somebody back? Now, if I didn't talk to them in that moment, I want you guys to hear this. They likely had an idea in their head of when I would be calling back. But I don't know what that idea is. Did they expect to call back within 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours? How do I even meet the expectation that is so unknown? So what do? How do you handle it? Here's what I will tell you. You want to establish an actual update system. And in order for it to be an actual system, it has to be on your calendar. It doesn't matter what business you are in. People appreciate proactive communication. And how you prevent proactive communication from also having reactive communication, people reaching out to you, is you actually talk about the proactive communication. I'll give you an example. When you go to the doctor's office, they generally say, hey, within 3 to 5 business days, this will be back out. You can check your portal. We'll text you an update of when to check it, right? You'll see an email or, hey, is this the proper cell phone number? We will call you. Why? Because the world was really, really bad. And now thanks to automation and just awareness, we do a better job of communicating. In mortgage and in real estate for that matter, it's super interesting. I think we see this often when it's not truly a set it and forget it type of system. It means we're in charge of it. So we have to make it a set it or forget it type of system. And so how do we do that? Well, I will tell you what, I have upped the communication on everything that we do at a high level. And so let me tell you some points that I think are game changers that you need to not only know, but they need to become non-negotiable in your business, and it will create more business for you. The first one is, bar none, the moment a referral comes in any fashion, updating the agent or whoever referred them that you heard from them, and a quick thank you, right? With the next steps from there. Maybe there are no next steps and it's just a thank you. Maybe there is an additional follow-up to be had. Whatever it is, you are going to literally reach out immediately. When we take in a new contract, we are always going to call and introduce ourselves and go through the entire process of what those updates look like. So we've got a new loan we're about to lock. I don't care if it's a refi or a purchase. We are literally going to go through what the communication schedule is. And here are the key words that I literally say every single time. You don't have to track us down. If you have questions, you can call anytime, right? Of course, here's our office hours, all of those things. If you have something that's come up, in between, of course you can reach out, but you have no need to otherwise. We are always going to update you. We will update you as your appraisal comes in. We do it the same 24 hours that it arrives. We will update you on a Tuesday update every single week without fail, and on a Friday of exactly where your file sits. We don't need you to have all of the details of the loan. We absorb most of them for you so that there's the least amount of stress on this big purchase that can possibly be had. Why do we do all of that? Now, do we do all of that? Well, I'll tell you what, at one time I started saying, I give an update and I do this and I do that. And then it became a most of the time. Well, I can tell you this. I did my updates on a Wednesday, or I planned on calling, but I called him the next day or a couple days later. I already talked to him 2 days ago and everything was fine. It doesn't work. If there's one thing that I know about any relationship, any business transaction, or even personal, it's that consistency builds trust. And so when people know, hey, I can count on that, even when it wasn't necessary, it matters. Because that small kept promise is something that not only builds trust with the consumer, with your referral partners, all of those things, it actually builds trust with yourself. Because you know, hey, this is something that I am committed to. And so the other thing is, do not make a single update more complicated than it needs to be. And here's what I mean. You might say you'll get an update via email all the time. Great. That means at least at a minimum email. Now, if you also update them via text or a voice text or an actual phone call, especially if it's complicated, that absolutely makes sense. What the doctor's office will say, if you think about it, is, hey, this information is going to get sent over in your portal, but we will also call if there's anything important. No phone call, nothing important, right? You just don't want to make it so complicated that nobody really knows what to expect, how to expect to receive it. And if it's being done differently each week, that's confusing to people of, hey, if I don't really know, you start to think, let me take back control myself as the consumer, and I'm going to call, I'm going to email, I'm going to text, I'm going to try to find out, did I miss something? Oh no, today I left you a voicemail, but all the other times I was sending you an email. I've got to know where to look, and it's got to be fast and consistent, and when to look for it. Are you doing updates by 5 p.m.? Are you doing them by noon? Are you doing them by end of business on the same day? All of these clarifying things matter. What are the other updates that matter? When something major is going wrong and you know that it puts a file in jeopardy, and this is specific to lending, but really you could put this in any business podcast and say, hey, something's going wrong and an expectation that I have is not going to be met, meaning an expectation that the client has might not be being met. We might not be closing on time. They might need more money or have a higher payment in the lending world. Anything that goes wrong in those areas is a really, really imperative thing that a phone call is actually made. Imagine getting the news of something being horribly wrong in your life from a physician and it being texted to you, emailed to you. And here's what happens. Oh, I sent an email. I've seen this for ages upon ages in lending. I sent an email, but I didn't pick up the phone and call. And I sent the email that would be so convenient that I'm headed into an appointment or I'm walking out the door so that I can avoid the uncomfortable reaction that I assume it's going to get. I'll tell you guys, I actually did that in my business at a certain point, right? Like, hey, I'm going to send this out, then I can cross it off my list that it was done. But the truth was, I was doing it in a, I won't cuss, but I'll say a chicken poop kind of way, right? Like not a good way to handle business. Once I started saying, hey, you know what? Anything that makes me uncomfortable for sure is going to make them uncomfortable. And that means you pick up the phone. And not only do you pick up the phone, but you leave a message that says, call me. Because it's no different to receive an email than it is to receive a voicemail that they can't talk back. When they can answer questions, when they can sigh, when they can be frustrated, even when they can, be angry, if you will. I don't ever have a furious conversation with a client. I learned to set boundaries. So hear me. If somebody's screaming and yelling in any setting, you are allowed to exit. You are allowed to say, hey, this isn't productive right now and you're very escalated. When you calm down, I'm happy to walk you through it, but we're not going to continue if you're raising your voice. We're not going to continue at all if you are cussing, right? It's okay to have boundaries, but to make sure that you're still willing to engage in the update. We are professionals and we have to act like professionals. And a professional would never shoot an email off and then take off out of the office for the rest of the day. A professional would never shoot a text about bad news. A professional would never leave a voicemail of something detrimental and then maybe not be able to get the call back done and return the call. So know that everything that you think, how would this feel to me if I was on the other side? I've never heard of somebody saying they over-communicated on the transaction. They over-updated me. I understood all too clearly what was going on, and that bothered me. We hear it all the time. I didn't really know. It felt a little frustrating. I started to panic with this and I couldn't get a call back. There was this going on. You just hear these little complaints. And what's really crazy, you guys, is that it's so easy in our business to point the finger, and I'm sure in every business, at somebody else. Well, that was the vendor's fault. That was this person's fault. That was that person's fault. I would have called you once I had more information. Nope. Everyone should leave any conversation knowing what to expect. I'll give you an example. When I leave the house in the morning, I'll tell my husband what time I'm going to be home. Last night, I had a nail appointment because I'm a girl and I like pretty nails. And I literally said, hey, I'm not going to be home right on time tonight. I've got a nail appointment. I know you have something at 7:20. I should be walking in the door around 7, so I'll see you for a few minutes beforehand. Are you dealing with dinner or are we on our own? We understood what the expectations were. I walked in the door. He was dealing with dinner. We got to spend about 20 minutes together. He went to his thing. Everything played out just as I thought it would, but we were prepared. Imagine if I just forgot to set an expectation and he had dinner ready at 5 o'clock and I didn't walk through the door until 7, but it wasn't my fault because I had an appointment and shouldn't he have known that? We treat our clients the exact same way sometimes. I'll get to you when it's most convenient for me, when I know something, when I've got something, instead of saying, hey, even if I know nothing, I'm going to call you back by 3 o'clock and give you just a quick additional update because that's a couple hours from now and I don't want you to sit in it. And the goal of that, you guys, is that people will be able to go back to their daily life, all the other things they need to take care of, knowing, hey, they're going to call me when they said they were going to call me. What's the tough part? Calling. Man, we just struggle. And I'm telling you, I am so guilty of this, and everything in my business got more fun, more under control, less emotions to manage, more trust built, more pride from myself and how we were taking care of people, the systems. We would hear time and time and time again, I know I can count on you. I know you guys will pick up the phone. I know we get an update every Tuesday, every Friday. And all of a sudden, all the other interruptions, the phone ringing off the hook, so-and-so on status, so-and-so needs to know this, is the appraisal is in on this. I cannot tell you the chaos we allowed because we were reacting instead of giving proactive communication. So build an update system, make it simple, clear, firm, non-negotiable. Plan for, hey, this communication applies here, this communication applies here, this communication applies here. Make sure that your communication plan matches the expectation plan of your clients. They might say, I never, ever check email. Who are we serving? Ourselves or them? How do you get through that? So make sure that you are taking care of clients at the highest level by building a system, confirming that system with them, making sure it's in alignment and then that it's followed so that even in the toughest things, they say buying a home, financing a home, one of the most stressful things that can happen on the planet, can feel a little less stress and a little more in control and honestly a little more fun for everyone. If this is helpful to you or any business out there, please share it and we will see you on the next one.